What's up, guys? So if you're gearing up to launch a private practice in 2020, but you have no idea where to start, there are definitely an array of routes that you can utilize in order to launch a successful practice. But with that said, there is one strategy that I think all of us can leverage to our advantage, especially in 2020, and that's SEO. Now, if you're at all like me when I first started out, then you might hear me say SEO and feel inclined to completely X out of this video. But stick with me and I'll show you how anyone can easily leverage SEO in order to build a successful private practice. Create robust content for each of these components. Robust. It's like a robot. Robust. It's a weird word, isn't it? Welcome to Private Practice Skills. I'm Dr. Marie Fang, psychologist in private practice. I post videos offering tools I learned the hard way about starting and growing private practice so that you don't have to. Okay, so this is not the first time I'm dishing all about SEO in one of my videos. In fact, in 2 of my prior videos, I took a deep dive into how to utilize SEO in order to grow your practice. And I'll be honest, if you take a look, those videos have not performed nearly as well as most of my videos. It's almost like once people see that I'm talking about SEO, they avoid that video like the plague. So you may have noticed that I did not put SEO in the title of this video in the hopes that you'd click it and watch it, because I do genuinely believe that SEO is the most reliable strategy that all of us can use to grow our practices. So stick around and I'm gonna make it as easy as possible for you. I really believe that you can do it. As a quick recap from my earlier videos, SEO stands for search engine optimization. Basically, it's fancy jargon for how you make it easier for people to find your website in a Google search. Now, you might be wondering why it matters where your website ranks in a Google search. I mean, you could be a fantastic therapist utilizing all kinds of different strategies to grow your practice, and they might be working for you, but let's face it, the average person looking for a therapist is probably going to start by sitting down and searching through Google. They might type something like couples therapist in Atlanta or anxiety therapist near me. I mean, let's be honest. Isn't that what you do when you're looking for a service provider? It's definitely what I do. And this is especially true if you have a primarily or exclusively cash pay practice because you don't have insurance panels funneling clients to you and sending referrals your way. But I do think most people are completely freaked out by the idea of a deep dive into SEO. And it is true that there is a ton that you could learn about SEO, but I don't want that to stop you from utilizing it to your benefit. So in this video, I'm going to offer some easy on-ramp tools that anyone can use to leverage SEO to grow their practice. And as far as I'm concerned, these strategies are a double whammy tip because Google is looking for the same things in your website that potential clients are looking for when they're deciding which therapist to go with. So not only will these tips help your website show up higher in the Google search rankings, but also once potential clients end up on your website, they're far more likely to contact you given these tools that you're using. I've broken down this simplified SEO strategy into 4 components. Number 1, identify your primary specialty. Number 2, identify your subspecialties. Number 3, identify the subtopics that fall under these subspecialties. And number 4, create robust content for each of these prior 3 components. Let me be clear, all 4 of these components are absolutely necessary in order to boost your SEO game. Okay, I rattled that off really quickly, so let's break this down with an example. Let's say you already know that your primary specialty is couples counseling with high conflict couples. And let's say your top subspecialties are affairs, divorce, and domestic violence. There we go. We already got our first 2 components covered. If this were you, here's an SEO strategy you could utilize. So on your homepage, you want to talk all about number 1, your primary specialty, couples counseling with high conflict couples. Make sure you stay on topic and bring in component number 4 of creating robust content about that topic. And naturally, you're going to use a lot of different words to describe couples counseling with high conflict couples. Maybe at some point you're going to refer to yourself as a couples counselor. At some point you're going to talk about how couples therapy can help other couples and give reasons why couples might want to seek couples counseling. As you can see, there's going to be some certain words that you end up repeating if you do stay on topic, and it's going to help potential clients understand what you're about, and it's going to help Google understand what you're about. So after you've rounded out your homepage all about your primary specialty and put robust content all about couples counseling with high conflict couples, it's time to move on to your specialties pages. So we often call these services pages, and an easy way to do it is to have a tab somewhere along your menu that says services, and if people click on it or hover over it, they're going to see a sub menu with your various specialties listed. So you want to create a page for each of these subspecialties, one for affairs, one for divorce, and one for domestic violence. And within each of those pages, you follow the same strategy. Make sure you stay on topic. So let's say you're working on the sub page all about affairs, then make sure you're talking all about affairs. Talk about what potential clients you might be able to work with. Talk about what the experience of having an affair is often like. Talk about what types of services you provide for those experiencing an affair. And that way, you're naturally using the word affair throughout your page, or affair, couples counseling for affairs, that type of thing. And that helps Google understand what your page is about. And it also is going to be really helpful to potential clients to see how you operate if they're looking for help with affairs. So use this same strategy for all of your different subspecialty pages, making sure, like I said, there's lots of robust content that stays on topic for each of those topics. Once you've completed all your subspecialty pages, then it's time for component number 3. Make a list of subtopics about each of these subspecialties. And each of these subtopics is destined to become a blog post. I have a video all about how to start a therapy blog, so if that just seems completely daunting, it's not too scary. You can check out that video on one of these sides. Is it here? I think last time I pointed to the wrong side. Anyway, so each of these subtopics is destined to be a blog post. Now, pick some regular schedule that you can sit down and sustain writing a blog post. If it's once a week, that's great, but even if it's every other week, once a month, every 3 months, that is still going to benefit you. Let me be really clear. The time you spend writing those blog posts is time well spent. You might be tempted to think like, who's ever going to read this? But if you keep plugging away at it, it is going to boost your SEO. People are going to find you in Google search results. And just as it was important for your homepage and your subspecialty pages, whenever you write a blog post, be sure to stay on topic. If you're writing a blog post and you find yourself kind of weaving through a few different topics, chances are there's probably several blog posts hiding within this one thing you're trying to write. So see if you can chop it up into more than one blog post, all the better. The importance of staying on topic allows Google to know what that specific post is about, so that when someone's searching related to what you wrote about in that blog post, they're much more likely to find you. Now, unless you're living in a relatively unsaturated market or a rural area, it's unlikely that your website is going to show up for really common keywords like couples therapist near me. But if you start chugging away at those blog posts, then those might start showing up high in search results early on because they're more specific and there might not be many other people who've written about that topic before. So the way this SEO strategy plays out is initially those specific blog posts are more likely to be found, maybe by fewer people, but at least they're showing up in Google search results. And as you keep posting more and more blogs that are all related to your subspecialties and your primary specialty, Google starts to figure out what you're about, and you might actually start ranking higher for whatever that broad search term is that you fall under. So maybe initially, if people search for couples therapist near me, you might not show up for that search query, but over time, you may eventually actually beat the competition for that search query. I'll share a personal example of how this has played out for me in order to drive this point home. So when I first started out and launching my website, I knew my primary specialty was a Christian therapist. But believe it or not, in my city of San Jose, there's like 100 Christian therapists. So there's no way my website would be showing up in the top search results for a Christian therapist, San Jose Christian therapist near me. One of my subspecialties is anxiety. But again, there's lots of Christian therapists in my area who deal with anxiety. It's nothing too specialized. But one area of anxiety that I really love working with in the sort of Christian umbrella is scrupulosity, which is a type of religious OCD. It's super interesting. Anyway, so I posted a blog post about this subtopic of scrupulosity called "What is Scrupulosity?" And initially, before my website was showing up anywhere even close to the first page of search results for things like Christian therapist, my blog post about scrupulosity was showing up near the top. No one else in San Jose was really talking about that. So I started getting a few referrals here and there from that specific blog post. Not hundreds of referrals a month, but maybe 2 referrals a month of people looking for a therapist who dealt specifically with scrupulosity. Now, if each blog post could start popping up and offering 1 or 2 referrals a month, you can see how over time, if you have 50 or 100 blog posts after a year or 2, then you could be getting lots of referrals this way. But the strategy went beyond just the blog post because over time, Google started to realize what types of people were interested in my page. And so I did start showing up much higher for much more general search queries. And for some of my primary keywords, I am the top search result in Google. So to circle back on those 4 components, number 1, identify your primary specialty. Number 2, identify your subspecialties. And number 3, identify subtopics for each of those subspecialties. And number 4, create robust content for each of those 3 components I mentioned. Now, there is so much more to SEO strategy than I cover in this video, but I do think that if you really use this strategy well, this is enough to boost your SEO to show up in Google search rankings. Now, if you are feeling ready to totally geek out on the nitty-gritty step-by-steps of all there is to know about SEO, I do dive into that in a podcast episode together with Daniel Fava. So I'm going to link to that in the description below in case you are someone who really wants to take it to the next level. Well, I hope you found these tips helpful as you utilize totally free technology to boost referrals to your practice using SEO. Let me know in the comments if you have any more questions about SEO, and I'd love to make more videos about this topic. And until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well. Today's video is brought to you by TherapyNotes.com. TherapyNotes helps with scheduling, notes, and billing so that you can spend more time with your clients and less time on back office paperwork. Click the link in the description of this video to get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment. Practice in 20... Oh man, my dishwasher is making a lot of noise. It's harder than you think, yeah. Those 2 videos have not Oops. If your website was popping up right at the top of the search query, component number 2 of our example, which included divorce, what was it? I forgot.